So drop-offs, as you can imagine, were hectic. I had two children at Robb Elementary, Lexi in 4th grade and Julian in 2nd grade. That morning was award ceremonies. So at 10:30, we went to watch Lexi. She received the Good Citizen Award, and she was recognized for all A's. And afterward, we posed for pictures with her. She wore a St. Mary's University sweater. She stole it from me. And a smile that just lit up the room. After that, we asked her to take a picture with her teacher, Mr. Reyes. She adored him, and he was fixing to retire. He said, she doesn't want to take a picture with me. She doesn't even like me. And she looked at me and said, yeah, I don't even like him. And then they leaned in and we posed for a photo. That is my last photo of Lexi. It was captured at 10:54 a.m. After I returned to work at the Uvalde Leader News, I had resigned from my position as a journalist back in 2019 to go back to school, but to make ends meet, I was going to be there for the summer as a part-time staff writer. I was sitting at my desk writing about a new business in town when we started to hear the scanner go off. There was a shooting in a residential street. Right after, the school went on lockdown. There were no red flags. It was procedure. It was in close proximity to the home where the shooting occurred, so I didn't think anything of it. I don't recall at what point I realized something was wrong. It's a little blurry, but I got to the school as soon as I could, and I was met with chaos. It was law enforcement everywhere, parents hysterical. And I remember thinking, well, we have to let them do their job, because I assumed, like a lot of people, that the officers inside were doing their job. Eventually, we were told to pick up our kids at the reunification center, still not understanding that a mass shooting had just occurred in my small hometown. I went to the Civic Center. My son had already been picked up by my dad, and we were just waiting for Lexi. Bus after bus came, and she wasn't on any of the buses. When the last one came, I remember thinking I wanted to get on the bus myself, because I just didn't trust that she wasn't on board. That's when the fear really started to sink in. I had my dad drive about an hour and a half to San Antonio. That's the nearest city where the major hospitals were at, where we were hearing that some of the children were airlifted. And I went to the Uvalde Memorial Hospital. We gave her a description. She wasn't there. And I remember sitting down, and what started as inner monologue became a chant. I just kept saying, please don't take my baby. Please don't take my baby. We started hearing rumors that some of the children had been taken to the funeral home. Looking back, that doesn't make sense, but we'd exhausted all other efforts, so we got a ride to the funeral home. She wasn't there. And I remember thinking, if she's not at the funeral home, and she's not at the hospital, and she didn't go to the Civic Center, then she must still be at the school. So we asked our family friend who was driving us around to take us to Robb Elementary, and she declined. She said, we're not going to get answers there. We really need to go back to the Civic Center. But I said, no, I'm going back to the school. So I walked to the corner of the funeral home and took off my sandals, and I just started running. I ran about a mile barefoot to the school. And I just sat there replaying the morning. How did I leave her at school? How did I leave her when I could have picked her up after the ceremony? Eventually, a San Antonio volunteer firefighter came and talked to us and told us decades here. So he gave us a ride and we accepted. We got to the Civic Center. We gave the description yet again, and we waited around for answers for hours. Eventually, law enforcement came into our waiting room, not unlike the room today. And they told us, we want to move you somewhere more private to wait. And my husband immediately got up and followed. And I remember turning to the woman next to me, and I said, I'm not sure I want to go. I think I knew that we weren't going just to wait, and that they were about to tell us something I wasn't ready to hear. And sure enough, they walked us into a nearby business. And they sat us down. And they told us that Lexi would never be coming home. Chair next to me hit the wall, and my husband was immediately standing up. He's talking, he's yelling, he's crying. I can't really make it out. I just turned to my left, and I told the woman next to me, I don't think I understand. And I said it again, I don't think I understand. And I know now that I never will. When we walked back out, I realized the sun was setting, and I thought, how appropriate. Lexi was the light of our lives, and she's gone. I never made a conscious decision to become an advocate. I just knew that I didn't want another mom to feel the pain that I carry every day. For me, that meant taking action. I testified before Congress 3 days before we buried Lexi. I've marched, I've rallied, I've met with legislators, and we have seen change. A month after Uvalde, the Biden-Harris administration signed the bipartisan Safer Communities Act. A year later, they announced the first ever White House Office of Gun Violence Prevention. Last month, President Biden signed an additional 14 executive actions to combat gun violence. Still, progress is always too slow when there's lives on the line. We have to come together to demand additional efforts in the form of universal background checks, red flag laws, safe storage, raising the age, and ultimately a complete ban on assault weapons. Finally, my greatest ask is that you take Lexi along with you while you make your own imprint on this world and while you fight for change. Thank you.